Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit the Free Throws podcast. We're encouraging you to stick to the basics. I'm one of your hosts, TV, aka TV on basketball, alongside my co-host Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
Man, it's been quite some time, man. Holiday season has treated us kind of crazy this year, dude. Normally in December, locked in, going crazy. December 15th hits, all these former free agents become available to get traded. We locked in. This year, man, things just went all types of left and right. But we're gonna come into 2026 swinging. Hopefully, this episode will set a standard, man. We're gonna go into 2026 going crazy, and it should still be a really strong 2025-2026 NBA season, regardless. How you feeling though, bro? It's been a minute. It's been a minute,
bro. It's been a minute since we talked. It feels like real. Look, pulling back the curtain a bit. Real life kicks our ass sometimes too, bro.
Fact.
Real life sometimes kicks our ass too. So that's basically the extent we'll go to it. But We're back here talking basketball. As you can see, I'm in the Christmas gear, the Fallout Raptors Christmas gear, because today is, I would say, is a holiday episode, right, Jay?
I would say so.
I would say so. A little bit of a different twist to it compared to previous years, but today's episode is gonna be pretty good. I'm going to say Santa TV over here is going to try and find a lot new homes for these guys, because they clearly are not wanted by their team, so we want to try to find them some new homes. They're basically like orphans on the street. We want to find them a new place to be. So Santa TV will hopefully find them a new home with some trade destinations. We're going to talk about that over there. And then we're both going to put the Santa hat on Jay for the final segment, where we try to give a team or a player, a nice little gift for Christmas, a nice gift, or some cool for them doing bad this year. So it's going to be a holiday-themed episode, but we're still going to be talking ball. It's been a minute since we talked ball, and like Jay mentioned, December 15th came and gone. A lot of free agents are able to be traded. There's going to even be more, by the way. Another date to lock in, January 7th. January 7th. You want to lock in after that, because even more names are able to be traded, and that's when you see the trade machine really pop up. But we're going to start talking about it today. It's going to be a good episode. Going to go through some trade packages, talk about some teams at the end. Should be a good episode. But Jay, before we get into trade talk, you do have to plug our socials. Make sure you follow our individual socials at TV on Basketball, at The Routine Jumper. Those links can be found in the description down below. In terms of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the best daily NBA content. I promise you guys we'll be back on it for the picks, news, series, all that type of stuff. You want to see us locked in for the during this time near the end of the year and going into 2026. We're going to have a special Christmas Daily NBA Picks Challenge for you guys, too. We're going to be doing all 5 as we do every single year. So make sure you lock into that. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. And if you're listening to us on any of the podcast networks, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff. We appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Should be another fun episode today. Make sure you just support to Hit Your Free Throws podcast anywhere. Like we mentioned, almost in every episode. We're everywhere. There's no excuse for you guys not to find us. So make sure you tap in. Jay, are you ready to get into this?
Hey, man, I love when TV gets the trade machine rolling, bro. And I have no idea about any of these trades that TV has cooked up. So this is real-time reaction. I'm excited to hear about some of these trade packages, bro, because I've seen some crazy ones online. So I'm interested to see which ones you decided to pick from.
Bro, Santa TV over here again. A lot of, I would say, disgruntled franchises. Lots of good disgruntled stars.
Yeah.
It's literally playing the adoption game, bro. We're trying to figure out how to find these guys new homes, because clearly they're not wanted where they are. So we're trying to figure out some new homes. We already did this in the past, with a John Morant, with an Anthony Davis. So we go through some trade packages just to dabble a bit in it. But like we mentioned, there's a lot more trades ready to be had. A lot more names added to the trade block. Jay, I thought we were already eating good with some of the trade names that we've gotten. Then we have some of the guys, just a preview. I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo might be on the move. We have a LaMelo Ball potentially on the move. So there's a pretty loaded trade market. I don't know if all of these trades are going to be able to happen. Probably not. But we know that it's going to get real busy come January, February. And we're going to be previewing some today. Definitely. And Jay, like we mentioned, Santa TV, going to try to find these guys new homes, man. Whether it's the media trying to say that they're not wanted anymore, whether it's the players coming at themselves, whether it's the teams clearly wanting to go into a different direction.
Yeah, that's been a big on TV. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of these teams have been indicating that it just feels like they've been capped out. They feel like they can't develop any further with some of these situations that they got going on across the roster. And TV, the biggest question mark is, like you said before, man, there's a bunch of orphans wandering around. But guess what? They not poor though, TV. They walk around with a lot of bread. It's gonna be really hard to move some of this
That's
money.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's gonna be really hard to move some of this money around, dude.
Bro, when I tell you when I go to each of these trade packages, you're gonna hear maybe 5 or 6 names, just so we can aggregate contracts to make sure that we
Yeah.
can get a trade through. This is the type of stuff that's gonna have to happen, bro. This type of crazy thing. But we're gonna make this work. Should be a good trade. And we're gonna start off, Jay. We've been holding off from talking to this guy for too long.
Yeah.
It's been too long we've been holding it off because the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors are back up.
Yeah.
We knew that there's a good chance they're gonna get back up. We tried, making it seem a bit better than it was over there in Milwaukee. But currently, especially with Giannis out, they're like 5 or 6 games under 500. It's not looking great for them. And now these Giannis trade rumors, whether people might want to say it's by him, whether it's by the Bucks, mostly it's just media. Let's be completely honest. It's mostly just media.
Facts. No, for sure.
But the Giannis trade rumors are back in effect. Where's he
Yeah.
going to go? Is he going to go to New York? Is he going to only have a couple of places where he's going to choose from? Jay, we're going to try to find him a new home. By the way, how do you feel? Like, do you think there's some validity to these Giannis trade rumors?
So I think the reality of the situation, I had to really think about this for a while because I knew this was one player I knew we were going to have to discuss at some point because as you mentioned beforehand, we've kind of slow rolled the Giannis thing because in honesty, and this is peeling the curtain back a little bit, me and TV have had conversations about Giannis being traded in the past, and it's always kind of came, with very little merit behind it. TV, I'm sure you'll agree that every single time it feels like Giannis Antetokounmpo seems disgruntled, it doesn't take very much to move him back in proper place, right?
Right.
He seems a little disgruntled. They get Drew Holiday, they win a championship. He seems a little disgruntled. They move Drew Holiday, they get Damian Lillard. The trade package itself, although the fit between him and Damian Lillard didn't play out as well as we would have expected, at least the attempt to go get another high-level all-star player.
The Bucks tried their best.
Yeah, you couldn't be mad at them for at least taking the swing, right?
Yeah.
Even to a lesser extent, letting Brook Lopez walk and choosing to go after Miles Turner, who at the time when you pair the whole Damian Lillard letting him go essentially, by releasing him situation and what's it called? Extending his contract out, to a point where they're essentially going to be paying that over the next like 3 to 5 years or whatever on top of the Miles Turner acquisition. You can even say they made a pretty good move by letting Brook walk because Brook looks pretty washed in LA right now, right?
Not even
So you can't really say that with the resources the Bucks have had that they didn't at least do their best around Giannis, and I think Giannis has responded accordingly to that. TV, I ain't gonna lie though, this might be the first year where it's like, dog, it don't look good. Like Ryan Rollins made it look like there was something there for a minute when Kevin Porter Jr., before the injury, he was kind of putting things together. It looked pretty decent for a minute there. Bobby Portis has been okay-ish so far this year. But man, TV, I ain't gonna lie. This is the first time pretty much, I think, ever when it comes to Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors where I'm like, yo, I think my boy's genuinely mad. I think my boy genuinely wants out. And he's not going to be the one to say it. Because he's beating around the bush in as many ways as humanly possible.
Yeah.
But it's time.
I'm going to talk about that really shortly. But firstly, I do agree with you.
Yeah.
It feels the most real it's ever been. We thought coming into the season this is going to be the most real it's ever been because of the roster construction around him, for sure.
Ooh, it's bad.
But the beating around the bush, bro. And this is coming from a wrestling fan who just watched multiple John Cena interviews coming into his retirement.
Oh, my gosh.
Giannis and John Cena are the kings of answering questions without actually answering the question.
That's a fact, TV. That is a fact. Oh, my goodness.
When I hear both of them talk, I'm like, you are the most political correct guys I've ever heard on the mic. And from an organizational perspective, WWE, the Milwaukee Bucks alike, they're probably like, okay, at least he's not, outwardly saying this stuff to the media, lowering his trade value, at the very least.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yes,
you can
that's
blow
fair.
high.
Yeah. I mean, he'll talk, but he won't say anything. He won't say much of anything. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah.
So, he's maintaining his trade value. We don't know if he wants to leave or not, but it's literally Giannis and John Cena both in the same boat, just trying to beat around the bush. That's all I'm saying. But Jay, we are going with the reality that Giannis wants out, but we're not going with the reality he gets to choose where he goes because we don't know where he wants to go.
True.
So we're going to find him a new destination. And the team Jay, this might come a little bit out of left field because we've heard teams like, the Lakers trying to prepare some package. I never believed that for a second. New York
Nah.
Knicks have a package.
It
Obviously,
was decent.
Detroit has been like around these packages for a minute.
Yeah, they've been floating around heavy since the Laurie marketing stuff slowed
Yeah.
down. Yeah,
The Atlanta
definitely.
Hawks, I feel like they've been around this situation like
Ooh,
heavy.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
Jay, what if I told you it's not one of those teams?
Okay,
We're gonna
interesting.
send him out west to the Portland Trailblazers.
Okay, there's a weird part of this that I actually am interested in. So give me the trade package because there's something about this I kind of like.
Okay, because again, you want to make sure that you're going into a certain direction. So
Right.
not only will the Blazers get Giannis Antetokounmpo, they will also get Miles Turner in this trade as well. We're double
Huh?
dipping with this.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm really interested because
Hey, look, if you're going in a full direction one way, let's just commit to it and
no,
get
you're
both your
definitely
guys.
right. I think that's okay. Just before you get into the trade package, because that totally is justifiable. Just as a question to kind of make it like frame it even further, right? If you trade Giannis, it is fire sale mode in Milwaukee, right?
Yes,
You would assume, right?
yes.
We're trading Miles, we're trading Bobby Portis, we're seeing what we can get for
Kuzma,
Kevin Porter Jr. for Kuzma. Like we're
we're
clearing
cleaning
the
house. No,
deck.
we're cleaning
Yeah,
house.
okay. We're on the
Yeah,
same page then.
yeah,
Okay, the
we're
Miles
cleaning
Turner
house.
part of it, I'm interested to see how the money works, but the Miles Turner part does make sense. That totally makes sense to me though.
Okay, the players coming back:
Okay.
Scoot Henderson,
Okay.
Donovan Clingan,
Okay.
Jeremy Grant,
Oh.
Rob Williams,
Oh.
Matisse Thybulle. But, and
This
this
is
is where the Milwaukee Bucks, this could be good for them
okay.
because the Portland Trailblazers, because of that Lillard trade back in the day, have control of Milwaukee's picks from 2028 to 2030.
Yeah.
They give all of that back to them. Everything back. Except for 2029, where they get the most favorable pick between the Portland, Milwaukee, or Boston. So the most favorable out of the three. Whoever is the highest draft pick of the three in 2029. But
Okay.
they relinquish the swap rights to the Milwaukee Bucks in 2028 and 2030. So the Bucks are not gaining draft capital, but they're gaining control back of their future.
Okay.
So along with
Okay.
they get a 2029 pick. They get a 2029 pick, either the most favorable between Portland, their own pick in Milwaukee, or Boston. So whoever's the highest of them,
Okay.
they relinquish the right to swap in 2028 and 2030. So Milwaukee has full control of those picks, and they
Okay.
also get five players. Once again, Scoot Henderson, Donovan Clingan, Jeremy Grant, Rob Williams, and Matisse Thybulle.
Okay. And is that straight for just Giannis and Miles?
Straight for Giannis and Miles.
Oh, that's tough. That
the
doesn't feel like too
the
many
Trailblazers
players.
have the Trailblazers are in a weird scenario where they have an asset that no other team has, and that's the control of the Bucks pick. So the Bucks can at
Yeah.
least like go into the direction they want and not have to worry about will the Portland Trailblazers get have their pick pick capital because they'll have control back of it.
But I think the question then is posed if they have so much influence from the perspective of being able to give their picks back. It's very similar to like, for example, the whole thing with the trading for Trey Young. If you're the San Antonio Spurs, like, what's the point of us trading for Trey Young and giving you your picks back when we can control those picks and manipulate that for a further move? If I'm giving you all three of your picks back and I got to give you five players, is that just to make the money work? Because that
Yes,
feels like a lot of like,
the Jeremy Grant, the money's coming from Jeremy Grant, but these Thibault and like Rob Williams are making like over 50 mil combined. Because I think like Jeremy's making over 30, Rob Williams is making like over 10 mil a year. Matisse Thybulle is like in like the mid 5 to 10, something like that. And then
okay,
Klingon and like Scoot Henderson, since they were high like draft picks,
this
they
is
have like
more
a decent.
sweeteners.
Yeah, those are the young pieces you're getting back basically.
Ah,
Scoot
okay,
Henderson, who hasn't played this year, mind
yeah,
you, he has
yeah,
not played this year, and Donovan Clingan, still some issues in terms of like mobility, but you have two young players to work with, and you have your future back.
okay.
How do you
So
feel?
frame this for me, and this will make more sense for me. What does the starting five for Portland look like post this trade?
It's it's gonna be big.
Yeah, because that's the first thing I'm thinking is they're definitely looking like Houston Rockets without as much mid-range jump shooting. That's the
well,
first thing I'm thinking. Like,
well, the first I'm assuming going into this, the good thing is Scoot hasn't played yet, so we don't know like what it really looks like. Drew is still healthy. Will eventually be healthy. So
yeah,
probably Drew, Tumani, Denny, Giannis, Turner.
that lineup is nuts, though. I cannot lie. That lineup is nuts.
Yes.
Oh, you get Dame back next year. Oh man, that's crispy. Then you get to put Dame next to Drew, next to Giannis with Denny and Miles.
You have Shaden coming off the bench too.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
got Chris
Oh,
Murray, who's been getting into the rotation a little bit. You might still have to work on that bench. I feel like there's two like true guys you can like really come off the bench with, depending how you feel about Caleb Love, depending how you feel about CD Sissoko and all them. But Giannis and Miles Turner, that starting five looks filthy in the West.
filthy. And I think the biggest question is going to be that depth because that starting lineup, especially next year when they get Dame back healthy, like Dame, Drew, Denny, Giannis, Miles, with Tumani and Shaden off the bench as your first two, that is filthy. The bigger question would be how wide open is the window for them? Because again, there is a good portion of that lineup, very similar to Milwaukee, that's a little aged out, so to speak, right? So you have to ask yourself the Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday backcourt, how long do you have with them? Right? That's gonna be an interesting question mark as well. But you still have Shaden in the fray, you still have Tumani to make up for it.
Young Henson is still there. I know he has not looked
Yeah.
great to start off his rookie year, but he's still around as like your 16th overall pick.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, Jay, with the picks, you're not giving your own picks. You're
Yeah.
giving back control of Milwaukee's picks.
Yeah. I think the number one thing that makes me so intrigued by this, outside of the starting five, which is disgusting, the starting five is actually low-key fire, especially next year's
Yeah.
version of it, is actually a lot more intriguing to me because even though it's very jumbo-sized, the ball movement is definitely going to be there. Between Drew Holiday and Denny Avdija and Giannis as a passer, the ball movement will be there. Then you have Drew somewhat as, an improved three-point shooter. He's had up and down years, but
Yeah.
he's a solid three-point shooter most of the time. Damian Lillard, very solid three-point shooter, if not elite level three-point shooter. Miles Turner at least has the archetype of a stretch big, which gives you that element as well.
Yeah.
Denny is more of your, push the ball down the floor, point forward type, similar to Giannis, just not as,
Underrated
physically
defender too. Underrated defender.
underrated defender as well. Lineups that can involve Drew Holiday, Tumani Kamara, Denny, Giannis, and Miles would be defensively disgusting as well. Athleticism,
The spacing is iffy, but yeah, it's gonna be
the spacing is iffy, but I'd say the one thing that helps is you're gonna have shooting in a lot of these different lineups, and in the lineups that you don't have shooting in, the one thing Milwaukee has missed a lot over these last handful of years is athleticism, and no lineup around Giannis is gonna lack athleticism with this Portland Trailblazers team, and that's where stuff could honestly make up for the fact that although their window with that backcourt is maybe like 2 years, maybe 3. We gotta see how Drew
That's
feels.
pushing it, but yeah, 3 pushing it, but yeah, max.
Yeah, definitely got to see how Drew feels more than Dame. I feel like I think Dame as a 3-point shooter kind of can extend his career pretty far back just by being a knockdown guy. Drew, on the other hand, we'll see. Once as the athleticism continues to wane, the defense continues to kind of dip. We'll see how that kind of lasts itself, right? But I'm not gonna lie. I mean, Milwaukee dang near gets a whole new starting five.
They get young talent. They already got young talent coming in and Scoot and Klingon already. So
Who
these
are
are
the three veteran guys you named? It was Jeremy,
Rob, Matisse.
and Matisse. If I'm not mistaken, one or all three of those guys fall off contract-wise within the next 2
Matisse
seasons.
and Rob do. Jeremy's
Yeah,
still
okay.
like 3 I think 3 years left on his deal.
Okay.
But I think it's fine knowing
Yeah.
like a lot of your guys going forward, if you're Milwaukee, is gonna be like rookie scale contracts. A lot of like
No,
you
I
don't have
actually think that's helpful to them
Yeah.
that they have their 3 picks back. You have Donovan Klingon and you have Scoot Henderson, like you said, as building blocks. Yeah, you still have Jeremy Grant kind of floating around, but you have Ryan Rollins still on the roster. You have Kevin Porter Jr. still on the roster. And those expiring contracts open up free agency space for you to potentially go out and kind of fill out the roster at the power forward position and maybe another small forward to really kind of solidify things. Because the likelihood is you're going to move off of Kuzma in the midst of all of this as well.
Yeah.
So I actually don't hate this for either team because you essentially get a starting five as a trade package back. You get at least 2 young players, and you get control of your draft capital, which is very important during this time frame where you're probably going to be bad.
Yeah.
To be honest, you're probably going to be bad because you're losing Giannis and your team is already struggling with him injured. If you flat out don't even have a roster where you know you can bring him back and maybe elevate the team moving forward, and you're probably selling off Miles and selling off Kuzma and all these other things, you're going to be bad for a little minute. So getting your draft capital back is huge. Having those 2 contracts expire and fall off to open up free agency space helps.
Remember, you're still paying Dame $20 million a year against your cap.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that's so important, too, because having those expiring contracts can kind of help build into having that available space because the Damian Lillard contract from that release and extension kind of is holding them up financially in a way where they that's part of why they couldn't do anything else besides the Miles Turner acquisition.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, and then for Portland, man, you have athleticism around Giannis. You got
Stretch big
shooting around him, stretch big still with Miles Turner. Familiarity in a million different orientations, right? Playing next to Miles Turner with this Bucks team, playing next to Damian Lillard for the last, season and a half. Obviously, you won a championship with Drew Holiday. Denny Avdia's coming into an all-star form this season. We haven't talked about him enough on this podcast for how great he's been so far this season.
Yeah.
Arguably a most improved player, like candidate, if not like the front runner in my personal opinion right now, despite the fact that Portland's kind of been a little underwhelming as a team.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, TV. I actually think I like this one a lot. And I've heard Portland as a weird trade candidate for a couple of teams as of late, as far as making one of these big swing moves for a star, because 1, they got the young talent, as you mentioned before, but 2, Milwaukee's picks is looking kind of smooth right now. If you wanted to use them as trade chips, giving them back to Milwaukee kind of sweets the deal up where you know that you gotta really, really give up Giannis like comfortably if we're gonna give you your whole draft capital back. But using it as a weapon for other teams as well is making them a really interesting destination, bro.
I'm just gonna say for this trade, I don't know if it's enough for the Bucks, even though they do get their draft capital back. I don't know what the Bucks fans truly enough think is enough draft capital, because they're not like they're adding like picks to their arsenal, right? It's like the most important thing is they get control back. That is the big thing here. So it's not like you're gonna go like trade with the Knicks or trade with the Pistons and you get their draft capital. And I think the biggest thing here, and we've seen it with other teams, the Clippers are gonna experience the same thing very shortly. Control of your picks is massive. To know like where they're gonna fall in the lottery is good to know, and is so key. And I think the Bucks see that as a good piece. You know what? I actually don't mind it for both. I don't. But if you tell me there's like better potential like trades in like Atlanta and Detroit, I get it. But I don't think this is bad, especially because you're winning in for the Bucks in different aspects where you get the young talent, you get your picks back, and you get some cap relief as well. So you get a bit of everything in this Giannis deal. So I don't mind it for each trade. Like who do you like in this trade? Like, do you think like who's more willing to do it, the Trailblazers or the Bucks?
Oh, I think if you're the Bucks, as crazy as trading Giannis sounds, and it's gonna sound crazy regardless of what team we were saying he was going to, right? 2 young players, former first round picks, by the way, and top of the lottery first round picks at that. 2 expiring contracts, a solid forward you could reflip, and basically full reestablish control of your future draft capital moving forward. I really don't think you can get a better package than that, honestly. If I'm being quite frank, like, again, 2 young players, 2 expiring contracts, which is very useful going back to what you said about the Damian Lillard contract still being on their books and being on their books for a next couple of years at
5
that,
years.
too.
5
Yeah.
years.
So this ain't going away anytime soon. So any version of cap relief is a W in Milwaukee's books, right? So you got that cap relief. You got 2 young players on cost control contracts, at least for now. Scoot is coming up very soon. Donovan Clingan, you got a little bit more time with, thankfully. And Jeremy Grant, you could always reflip.
Yeah.
So there's that ability as well. And the likelihood is that you would reflip him, right? So
Eventually, yeah.
yeah. And again, you get your picks back too. Like, I actually think that framework kind of makes it where like Portland easily has the best trade package because Milwaukee is getting back something that no other team can place a value on better than themselves, which is their own picks back, right? I think the question that I'm interested to hear like your thoughts on is how good do you think this makes Portland as far as what they want to do by gaining somebody like Giannis, which obviously puts you now into the conversation of like, okay, where do they rank amongst the Western Conference contenders, right? Because that's the first thing that comes up when you talk about acquiring a player of that talent. But then number 2, does it fully align with what it sounds like Giannis wants, which is to win a championship? Because the one thing to now be one of the better teams in the Western Conference, that's a big achievement for this Portland Trailblazers team. But are they a top 5 team in the West? Are they still just like a playoff team in the West? Or are they a real like contender where we're talking about one of the top 2, top 3 seeds in the Western Conference, a la how when the Rockets traded for Kevin Durant, they went from maybe the 2nd or 3rd best team in the West on paper, maybe even 4th or 5th in some people's eyes, to being the favorite to knock off the Oklahoma City Thunder coming into the season. Like, where are we on the Blazers if they have Giannis under this construction?
Well, what I'll say for the Blazers is if they do make this trade is we talked about this in episodes before. The barometer's a Thunder, and that's not changing. So they'll still be at the top. But there's that glut from 2 to 6 right now of the Spurs, the Nuggets, Lakers, Timberwolves, and Rockets. That glut there, it's anyone's ball game, in my opinion. In that ballpark, it's anyone's ball game. And if the Trailblazers make this trade, put them there. You could put them easily in there. And I would say I would trust them a little bit more than the Lakers. I would trust them to a certain extent a little bit more than the Timberwolves, especially with their lack of point guard, of their uncertainty at the point guard position. I like their chances, I will say. I like their chances. I think they have just as good of a chance as anyone from that 2 to 7 range. But is that worth it if you're Portland? It's up for interpretation. But
yeah,
I do believe it.
I think... No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think if you were going to make a trade like this, that's the best you can get. Because the West is a bloodbath in terms of that area. We always mention the Thunder at the top, and then you have 2, and then you have that range. Portland is right in the middle of that. And I think that's all you can really ask for at this moment.
I think the other thing, TV, and it's kind of a nuts framework because this is taking more of like an outer view and looking kind of beyond Milwaukee, looking beyond Portland, right? I think a lot of people in the Eastern Conference, as much as they would love to see Giannis on the other side of the pond, I mean, TV, where is the relevancy in the Eastern Conference?
That's also tough. Yes.
If the West has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, Giannis, LeBron, Luka, AD, Cooper Flag, Jokic, right? I mean, you almost got to get rid of conferences if Giannis goes to the West, dog.
I will say, before we move on to the next trade, if I'm the NBA, if I'm Adam Silver, Atlanta, Detroit, y'all better make a trade.
No, real talk.
Y'all be the ones that better make the trade. Because if he goes to San Antonio, if he goes to...
Wemby. I forgot Wemby in that list.
If he goes to San Antonio, if he goes to Portland, the discrepancy is going to be even worse, bro. It's going to be even worse.
bro.
But yeah, it's a very interesting thought experiment. This is a very interesting trade, and there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of layers to it. So I think
Yeah.
this is the fact that we're able to talk this through for this much. Things is like, okay, this is probably a pretty even trade for both teams.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I actually think, despite the fact, again, losing Giannis is a lose situation
yeah,
in any overall trade package. Just
yeah,
because you're losing the best asset of anybody overall, right? When Giannis is healthy, like it doesn't hold a candle to any of these other players or
yeah,
assets that are being acquired, right? But at the same time, if you have to trade him, which is essentially the circumstances we're under right now, it does not. I really don't think you can't tell me what Miami's been dangling out is better than this, because their whole thing is just trying to throw out the Tyler Heroes from Milwaukee timeline, which is like, who really cares in
yeah,
the grand scheme of things, right? Like, who really cares? Yeah, sure, he was born in Milwaukee,
yeah,
played most of his high school
yeah,
ball in Milwaukee, cool, and he was supposed to, he was supposed to stay in Milwaukee or go to like Wisconsin, and he chose to go to
yeah.
Kentucky. Like,
Kentucky,
come on, bro,
yeah,
like be for real, we're not worried about this. Like, the New York Knicks trade package really is just Karl Anthony Towns. Let's be honest. It's
yeah,
really just Karl Anthony Towns, and maybe you throw in someone like a Tyler Kolek for sauce, but that's not really moving the needle for Milwaukee as far as trying to look forward to a rebuild
mm-hmm.
either, right? So when you look at some of these other teams, I think Atlanta is an interesting one, especially because I've seen trade packages where Trae Young is the forefront of those Atlanta trade packages. So
Yeah,
that's an interesting thought process as well. But yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. We need an Eastern Conference team to trade for Giannis, dog. Because if a Western Conference team gets a hold of Giannis Antetokounmpo, bro, the NBA is gonna have to have serious questions about more than just team expansion. We're gonna have to start having questions about, like, is East versus Western Conference even a framework we can work with anymore in the grand scheme of the NBA, when easily, hands down, like 11 or 12 of the teams in the West would be, I mean, at that point, TV, can we say like 11 to 12 of the teams in the West would probably be the majority of the top 15 teams in
yeah.
all of the NBA at that point? I mean, from the East, who do you have that probably be in contention for that? The Knicks right now, the Celtics right now.
Detroit.
Detroit looks like they're there. Talent
Yeah,
wise, roster wise, you can
I
make
would
an
say
argument
Detroit is
there,
in the.
but I
Yeah,
would say Detroit at least is in the mix with Cade. The way Cade's been playing, Jalen Duren and those boys have been playing so far this
mhm.
season. I mean, but Cleveland looks like a mess, right?
Yeah,
Indiana, we don't know what Tyrese Halliburton back healthy is gonna look like.
yeah. So yeah, there's just
Right?
way too many question marks out there in this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Ooh.
tough sell, but yeah, I would say is that the Trailblazers have a very interesting package, especially again coming from a different angle from basically every other team in the league. With the idea of being able to give back the Bucks draft capital, so should be an interesting one. Jay, the next player we're gonna try and find a home for. Santa TV's gonna try to find a home for LaMelo Ball, bro. It feels like LaMelo Ball is being hated by every media outlet right now, saying he's the most selfish superstar in the league, that he's the hardest to work with, like the weirdest minded and all that. Jay, it's hard to thrive in Charlotte. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah.
And I hate to do this again, but let's send LaMelo Ball to another West team. Let's take even more talent away.
Ooh, that would be. Oh my goodness,
Yes.
boy.
Hey,
Ooh.
but hey, let's. You mentioned it earlier.
Uh,
I think this was before the podcast. What does the Mavericks need right now? A playmaking, shot creating point guard. I wonder where they could have had that. Who knows? But we're gonna give them another one and LaMelo Ball in this trade. And Jay, this is one of the three teamers that we got going on.
okay. Okay.
Because obviously, if we're sending LaMelo Ball to the Mavericks, that means Charlotte is gonna be involved. But Jay, let's also include the Lakers into this. So
Okay.
the Lakers in this trade get Daniel Gafford and Klay Thompson. The Hornets
Okay.
get Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, Don Connect, Gabe Vincent, and a 2019 first round pick unprotected from the Dallas Mavericks. From the Mavericks via the via the Lakers from the Mavericks.
And it's 2029, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's about it. LaMelo Ball's trade value is probably at the lowest it's ever been. So it's not going to be some crazy trade package like we've mentioned in the past with multiple first-round picks. And it feels like the Charlotte Hornets feel like they're going into a different direction. Is this enough? Do you think that this trade is good enough? We'll look at each of them. I mean, LaMelo Ball on the Mavericks.
Okay. Read the trade package out in the framework of who lands who one more time for me.
So obviously Dallas just gets LaMelo, just LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
Lakers get Clay and Gafford.
Okay.
Charlotte gets Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, Gabe Vincent, and a 2029 first-round pick.
Man, I feel like Charlotte's getting kind of screwed here, no?
A little bit, but this is the thing with the players on the trade market right now. Heliocentric point guards that need to have the system built around them.
That's a totally fair response. I'm not gonna lie. That has been the most volatile conversation amongst this group. If you go across the board, even dating back to our conversation about Ja Morant, it was Ja, it was Darius Garland, it was LaMelo Ball, Trae Young. That's been a huge. That's a great point.
Who can't defend? By the way.
Yes, that's a great point as well. Specifically, that you have to build both an offensive infrastructure and a defensive concept that protects them. Right? You have to build an offensive infrastructure around these heliocentric guards. You have to build a defensive concept that protects them as well. Yeah. And Dallas would have it. They would have it.
They 100% would have it.
Definitely would have it. Because what's that? That's still, you have AD. You obviously have Cooper Flagg. You would still have Derek Lively. You still have PJ Washington.
Kyrie.
You got Kyrie back either later this season or you get him back next year, or getting LaMelo gives you the opportunity to reflip him for further assets potentially. Can I ask a question that's not fair, though?
Sure.
Is Dallas allowed to make another trade that involves the Lakers in the year of 2025?
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's my only question. You know what I mean?
If they make this trade, they're making the type of trade they made with Luka forbids them to make a trade with the Lakers for the next decade.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing.
That's an unfair thing, but I don't think it's a bad swing. I think this is the thing. The trade package, I don't think is terrible. I think specifically if you're Dallas, you kind of, I don't want to say you win, because I don't know if that's necessarily accurate per se. I mean, you're giving up Clay, Gafford, and Christie, and the pick that you got from the Luka trade.
Yeah, that's the thing. You give up the pick that you. Now that goes to Charlotte. Thankfully, that doesn't go back to Lakers.
Yeah, that goes to Charlotte.
But yeah, you give up the pick you got in the Luka trade. Clay, touch and go. Daniel Gafford, I think high upside player. Max Christie, I actually like.
I think Max Christie's going to be the biggest loss here. Max Christie will be the biggest loss out of anything that they send out.
Which makes you feel comfortable about the trade if you're Dallas when you get LaMelo as the upside.
Yeah.
Trade package wise, if you're Dallas, I think you're okay with it. If you're the Lakers, I think you're very high on it. Because a rotation that now bumps Jackson Hayes to the third string center, and you have Daniel Gafford and DeAndre Ayton in that front court, you
lose Rui
tomorrow. So that's putting a lot more pressure on, I believe that would be Jared Vanderbilt at that point.
Yeah.
So that's defensively, now you're going to be a lot more defensive minded as a unit. You're not going to have as much floor spacing.
Well, Clay, you're hoping he gets back into this.
That's true, but the question is with Clay, we need to see the three-point shooting kind of reestablish itself because this year's been kind of up and down.
Yeah.
Also, does Clay start? Because if Clay starts, he's the 3 and Braun's the 4.
Probably.
I don't know where Braun stands about being a 4 at age 41.
I mean, he doesn't have to. I feel like old man strength is better than him having to guard the perimeter.
That's a fair response too. I
It's
think the only team that's maybe a little ticked here is the team giving up probably the best asset in the trade, which is Charlotte. I feel like Charlotte isn't getting anything back that makes them feel like they got some kind of decent blue chipper or some kind of like, you know, upside swing in the form of potential. Like what's the best asset in that trade? Is it the 2029 pick?
it's Max Christie. Max Christie, in my opinion, who I think
Yeah,
is actually going to be a long-term like rotation piece for this team.
yeah. I guess Max
Rui could be
Christie.
in the mix. Dalton is a swing.
Dalton's a swing for sure.
Dalton's
Yeah,
a swing. Gabe Vincent just expires. He'll just expire, and that's about it. But and they get a first round pick, and then just either to trade or to. I mean, you're gonna get what's gonna happen with Charlotte here is that they're gonna have too many guys to play. What's gonna end up
yeah.
happening here?
I'm breaking down the starting five in my mind, and I'm thinking like, okay, there's a lot of guys who are not gonna figure. Like for example, like who starts Miles Bridges or Rui Hachimura, for example, right?
That was one of the things I was thinking too.
Like you probably
It's
flip Miles in that situation, which he's already kind of on the trade block. It feels like to a certain extent, anyway.
consolidation trades are in place if this trade does happen for the
Yeah,
Charlotte Hornets. Consolidation trades are definitely in place,
yeah.
but they do have options there. I don't think it's bad. I think Dallas and Lakers engaging in any sort of trade is going to be a red flag in general. But the idea of Dallas getting LaMelo Ball is not a bad swing in my opinion, especially because I feel like this is one of the very few teams that can actually cater to his play style.
I'm sure the money probably is the issue here, but I think it would actually be kind of dope if Dallas could get Miles Bridges as well.
Money will definitely be the issue because Miles
And
makes
that's
like
the
20
nasty
something
part.
million. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part where, but he's only got 1 year on this deal, though, correct?
Did he re-sign a new one?
Because I don't believe that with all of the allegations that he was dealing with, that he was able to get anything beyond Charlotte stepping back in with their bird rights for him.
He is he has one more year after this. He's making 25 million this year or 22 next year.
Okay. It
I
would be
mean,
nice if you could get him as well, but I understand that you can't, and that's what makes it kind of difficult. So, again, if I'm Charlotte, I think you would love this a little bit more if you just had a little bit more blue chip talent, or maybe somebody a little bit with a little bit more high upside than Max Christie. No disrespect to Max Christie, but I
yeah.
think that I feel like for this trade, it's very much carried by that 2029 first round pick. And you just wonder if that's really enough for Melo. But for those other two teams, happy for them for
Yeah.
sure in this trade. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. It's definitely like a thought-provoking one. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what packages, if these trades do happen for these heliocentric guards. Because I feel like this is going to set the standard for a lot of the league now, where you have these guys, you try to build around them, they don't work out. How many teams can trade for them? Because, like we mentioned off the top, you're going to need to really cater your roster to them. And it's not like it's like you're trading for a Kevin Durant or like a role player that you can just drop in anywhere. No, no, no. You're going to have to change a
Yeah.
lot. So it's not just a trade of taking them in, even though they are super talented. It's how you're going to maneuver the roster around them to make things work. So it's not only just a coaching adjustment, a scheme adjustment. It's them trying to get like letting them find theirs while still being able to maximize the talent, the quality from the rest of the other guys. So there's a lot of other things that go into it. So I think this year specifically, with the amount of guys that are on the trade block with Jaw, Trey, Darius Garland, LaMelo, it's gonna be interesting what package to get back because I feel like it's gonna be a lot less than what people are expecting.
Yeah. LaMelo, honestly, all like you said, all of those heliocentric guards, I think the question is going to be how confident does an organization feel
Handing them the
about
keys,
what
basically. Handing them the keys.
yeah, about what's left over because essentially whatever is left over has to be pieces that you feel like will cater to the play style of the guard you're acquiring. And although all of these guards we've named are heliocentric, they're all very heliocentric in different ways. Right? For
100%.
example, if you go down the line, right, LaMelo Ball, very flashy pass, operates in transition very
I just
well.
realized we didn't even talk about LaMelo Ball's injury issues as well. Like that's going to be a big thing you're trading for.
And maybe that's the part that makes it more fair when you think about
Yeah.
Charlotte. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because maybe that's the part that equalizes things for Charlotte, where it's like, look, we're trading a distressed asset essentially.
Yeah.
Because no matter how talented LaMelo is as an individual player, availability is just as effective as an ability of any other. We've seen that more in this season in particular than any season we've seen in quite some time, right? We've seen more injuries pile up in, the last 2 seasons, include this year. And they have real impact on these rosters by seeing these guys go down. And LaMelo's missed a lot of time in his NBA career. So
Mhm.
maybe that's the part that makes you feel a little bit better about it if your Charlotte is, look, the man barely plays as it is for us, it feel
Yeah.
like. So anybody is somebody.
Exactly.
And maybe that's something that makes you feel a little better about it. So that's something where I could say maybe I like it a little bit better for Charlotte under those circumstances. Because that's actually something, like you said, we didn't really talk about enough, maybe, because that's also gonna be a part of any LaMelo Ball trade, getting the most out of what you would want in a guy who is, an all-star talent, a former top 3 overall pick, all of those things.
So yeah, 100%. One of the more interesting trade pieces out there. Whoever takes LaMelo is taking a big risk, especially with the health issues. So it's gonna be interesting to see if Dallas Mavericks turns it around and gets that heliocentric point guard that can assist and score. They probably wish they had one right now. All right, let's go on to the next guy. Domantas Sabonis. Yes, out there in the mess that is the Sacramento Kings. They don't know what they're doing. Domantas Sabonis is injured. He had a reevaluation this week, Jane. He's going to be out for another month. So whoever trades for him,
By the way,
yes.
context for that. Another month would put his return at when?
That would be just before February.
Which is right
Yeah.
the week of / week before the NBA trade deadline. I think this is both strategic. I'm going to be honest with you. Full transparency. I feel like this is both strategic by him and the Sacramento Kings. I think this is their best chance to preserve whatever version of trade value he does have by avoiding any potential long-term injury issue suffered beyond what he's already dealing with. And quite frankly, the display of basketball by the Sacramento Kings as of late.
Just get him away from there right now to not make it even worse.
Yes.
I guess you.
I think there's some strategy to him coming back, quote unquote, coming back right as the NBA trade deadline is pretty much there. Because he would essentially clear injury, the injury waivers as far as concerned in terms of he would come back in time to have proven that he's cleared the medicals. And then within that last 48, that last 48 to 72 hours before the trade deadline is over is usually the most active. I think that's when you would see a Domantas Sabonis trade if he does actually get moved.
Okay. And Jay, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm sending him to my Raptors for this one.
Wow.
This one could be interesting.
Okay, before you list the package, do you want him, or is this just an interesting package to you?
It's an interesting package to me.
Okay. As far as you want him on your team, though.
A lot of the guys that are tied to the Raptors, I don't want. Like in terms of Anthony Davis, Domantas Sabonis, even to a certain extent, Darius Garland. I'm not a big fan of investing a lot of assets into those guys.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna lie. Sabonis may be the most interesting to me out of at least the three that I mentioned. Darius, AD, and him. Especially with this offense, I feel like this is the most interesting.
Okay.
So, and Jay, we got another three-teamer here. All right. The Raptors get Domantas Sabonis, Buddy Hield, and Doug McDermott.
Okay, I see what clearly is needed in this trade-off. What's being addressed, I should say.
Okay, what is being addressed? 100%. The Warriors
Okay.
get RJ Barrett. They get RJ.
That's
Just
it?
RJ. Just RJ Barrett. The Kings get Ochai Agbaji, Jakob Poeltl, Jonathan Kuminga. That's the deal. No picks. Nothing involved. If you're asking potentially, maybe there could be picks involved, there could be. But in this trade deal, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Jay. I found this on Reddit, and I just thought this could be interesting.
You
This,
know, what's funny about this trade is it's not as bad as it sounds when you first read it out.
yes,
Because the Sacramento Kings have been rumored to be chasing Jonathan Kuminga dating back to really their first real struggles with getting a contract extension done, talking about Golden State last season, right? Coming into the summer, the Sacramento Kings were one of those teams that were highly in conversation to want to make a move for Jonathan. So to be able to get him in this trade package is big time, especially when you're not even really the primary benefactor of getting the quote unquote best player in the trade, which is supposed to be Sabonis, right? As Toronto, one of your biggest issues, I think you could maybe attest to this, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, is you're a solid rebounding team. But this is a player who would elevate your rebounding stature, both on the offensive and defensive glass, significantly.
this as much as people want to hate on Sabonis, he, in my opinion, is the number one or number two best defensive rebounder in basketball.
Yeah. So I feel like that would be huge as far as what this Toronto Raptors team needs. And, TV, you might only experience it for like 2 months, but Buddy Hield, when he's hooping,
We
it's
need
something.
shooting. We need
Yeah.
shooting.
You need shooting, and 2 months of Buddy Hield might get you to the playoffs, and then after that, you figure it out, right? but 2 months after the trade deadline, I'll at least get you to the playoffs. Then when you
Yes.
get to the postseason, we'll see what happens. Golden State, though, I just wonder as Golden State, and I like RJ. Me personally, very big on RJ. Think he's having a very underrated last 2 seasons in particular, actually.
Yes.
Wasn't talked about enough last year.
And
I
before
thought-
his injury this year, he was very good.
Yes, I thought
He was
pre-injury this year and especially the back half of last season, I was very pleased with what I saw with him both as an on-ball defender developing last season, and his shot creation is something that I think has been coming along, even with the fact that Toronto has embraced multiple ball handlers as part of their offense.
By the way,
I just
very
want-
much his cutting is incredible. Has been so good.
Yes,
His
yes,
cutting
yes,
has been
definitely.
incredible.
But TV, actually, I think this is very nuanced, but I think that point is something that poses this question. Is RJ Barrett similar to your issue with Jonathan Kuminga being too much of an overlap in terms of his fit hurting next to Draymond Green? Is RJ Barrett's fit too much of an overlap with what Jimmy Butler does?
I don't think so, because Jonathan Kuminga just stands there. He does
True.
not have good off-ball movement. He just stands there. We have this idea of Jonathan Kuminga, and it's the same thing with the John Collinses of the past. We love the idea of a player, but it never materializes. Jonathan Kuminga has been one of those guys, and I'm not blaming his talent.
Right.
It's the idea that the Warriors are trying to fit him into their system, but he's a square peg in a round hole over there. It just doesn't fit. RJ has shown over these last 2 years that on ball, off ball, he could be effective now.
Yes, definitely.
He can be effective. So even if he does overlap with Jimmy Butler, the cutting is there. The ability to, I think playoff Draymond Green is I think he's going to be an underrated factor here. Does this address their big man need? No, not at all.
Yeah.
But in terms of putting pressure on the rim, being a big body there who's able to that's one of the things that the Warriors are missing right now. Just being able to just attack the rim. And just having that guy who, unlike Jimmy Butler, who will do it from time to time. RJ Barrett is is that's basically the biggest part of the game.
Yeah.
And you don't have a long-term commitment to him too. He is an expiring contract. So if you want to bring him back, it's your choice.
Yeah.
And you get off the Jonathan Kuminga stuff. And you don't have to pay Buddy Hield for another 3 years. So it's flexibility. Okay. It's also someone who can actually help you right now.
And this might be a lazy comp, but you could also make the argument that although this is a very different version of the Warriors now in comparison to what I'm kind of associating with here, but RJ kind of comes in as your Andrew Wiggins here, kind of, correct?
Yes, exactly. Except you replace the 3-point shooting with the ability to actually finish inside, which is like what Andrew Wiggins wasn't really as great of during his time with the Warriors. He actually improved a lot as a 3-point shooter, and RJ, like you mentioned, has improved a little bit as a 3-point shooter with the Toronto Raptors.
Yes.
So it's not like he's a complete negative there either. But he does bring the driving ability. I think it's a need that the Warriors have that's just not being talked about enough. But I understand why Warriors fans would have their questions about it.
I think, obviously, the biggest question if you're the Warriors left is obviously rim protection, right? Like, to not get a center is tough. I think the man, that's so tricky. I like RJ, so I hate talking around him like he's just like some throw-in in this trade, because that's not what I feel by any means.
The thing is with this trade too, and you have to remember this if you're the Toronto, and this is what I don't like about some of the trade options that the Toronto Raptors have been given like over these last couple of weeks. A lot of these trades are going to take them into the first apron. A lot of the trades that I've seen from this team are taking them into the first apron. We are currently $900K under the first apron. $900K. That's why trades for Ochai Agbaji with the Nick Richards thing has been so prevalent, because that takes us another $2 million under. So that keeps us, there's a bit more wiggle room over there. Or even like, I think it takes us maybe just enough we're able to sign a player for the rest of the season, and it doesn't take us into the first apron. That's why we have only 14 players on our roster. If we sign a 15th player, he's gonna take us over over the first apron, and that's what the Raptors doesn't want to do. This trade in particular takes us down another $3 million. So it gives us space to also sign that third center that the Raptors fans have been wanting, to sign another piece. To fill out that roster spot. That's just to give another context, and this is just coming from like a Raptors guy who knows why they haven't made
that's totally solid, because you have to factor that in. That's one of those things, man. I'm so glad that you touched on that, because that's one of those things in today's NBA trade landscape that I think is still so much of a brand new concept that people are still trying to wrap their head around a lot of these trades in terms of how they work. The names are not moving, not because the trade packages aren't worth it. Some of these trade packages are as loaded as they can get. The question is, what's the ramifications afterwards? For example, you mentioned the leftover money that would also be able to feed into a potential 15th roster spot for Toronto. I think another question you could ask, where it can be either a net positive or a net negative if you're the Golden State Warriors, is, well, Jonathan Kuminga is essentially a fake expiring contract to a certain extent at the end of this season. He has one more season after this, but I believe it's a club option.
Yeah, it's a team option. Yeah.
Right? So he's potentially an expiring contract at the end of this season too. What's the point of flipping him out for a RJ Barrett, who might end up coming off their books at the end of the season as well? So either way, you're going to end this summer having a question of feeling the obligation to pay somebody, otherwise they walk away for nothing, right? So you have to factor that ramification in just further than just like, I think RJ Barrett's a better fit than Jonathan Kuminga for this team. I feel that. Even if there is a worry about redundancy next to Jimmy Butler, which I think your explanation around why that's not as big of a deal as it may seem is a valid one, I do think that RJ Barrett is a better fit than Jonathan Kuminga, at least, regardless, for this team. But if you only have him for essentially a couple of months in a postseason run, and financially you may not have the means to go about bringing him back, you essentially lost Jonathan Kuminga for nothing, right? So, if you're the Warriors, your big club swing is RJ Barrett is the missing piece that's going to help us make one last hurrah at this thing. Is RJ Barrett that talented enough to be that player? Now that's where we got to really, you know what I'm saying? That's where we gotta weigh the situation. Um, wow, man. Wow. Wow. Sacramento is scot free here, by the way. I think they're good. You
The
get Jonathan Kuminga in this
the
trade, I
only
think you're
thing
good.
is, and one of the people commenting on this trade made a really good point.
Okay.
Jakob Poeltl is on a 5-year deal, and with the way that he's like fit right
Ooh.
now, they're like, does Sacramento need pick compensation? That's basically
Yeah.
Jakob Poeltl's a negative asset at this point. I
Yeah.
get it, but
Mm.
with the Jonathan Kuminga thing, expiring contract, and Ochai Agbaji, it doesn't take them into the luxury tax. It does not take them into the luxury tax.
But they do have to pay Jonathan Kuminga this summer, though, right? I'm assuming because I'm
I know
assuming
it's a club option, so it's the same
you
thing. I
got
think.
the, but TV, let's be honest, you got the club option, but even though it won't affect him this summer, you're trading him with the anticipation that he's getting an extension.
Yeah.
You're trading for Jonathan Kuminga with the anticipation that you are going to sign and extend him, basically within at least the first couple of months of bringing him into the organization. That's got to be clear,
Yeah.
right?
But
That
yeah,
has to be a part of the negotiation.
yeah. But even still, I mean, how much more is he going to make more than the 22 million? Like, how much more than that is he really going to get, especially as an unproven commodity here in the NBA? And
That's fair.
also, there's still like 6 million under the salary cap with this trade, under the luxury, the first apron with this trade. So they have a little bit of wiggle room still if you're the Sacramento Kings.
And they can
With
always keep dumping. They could always keep dumping as well. DeMar is obviously in trade
Zach,
conversation. Zach Levine
yeah.
has
So
been rumored to
there's
Milwaukee
room. There's
a million
room.
times.
Basically, I'm
Yeah,
saying that there's room.
yeah.
So
Okay,
it's an
okay.
interesting thought piece. The
Yeah,
Raptors again continue to go under the luxury tax a little bit, so there's enough space to sign that other guy.
yeah.
The interior defense is going to be awful. It's going to be absolutely awful with Sabonis and Mamukelashvili being the guys leading the way. But we do have the money to sign a center now, so
Yeah,
maybe there could be someone out there in the buyout market or something like that that can help us. But
yeah.
it helps out the offense a lot. And if you're the Raptors, a bigger thing here too, you get off the 5 years of Jakob Poeltl and you get Domantas Sabonis, who's only there for 3 years. And that's a big thing with him, and a big thing with Emmanuel Quickly, and why people want to trade him so much, because there's 4 more years of Emmanuel Quickly on $30 million a year, and that's not looking great for the Toronto Raptors. So just
Mm,
getting less years is already kind of a goal for a lot of trades and a lot of these like Raptor proposals. So
yeah.
there's just something like that. But yeah, interesting thought process.
I like that one.
It's a solid one.
Yeah,
The
I like
Warriors
that.
one might be like, is RJ Barrett enough? You're not giving up much. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're
You're
not
not
giving
giving
up
up
much.
in a pick, and you're not giving up a pick too.
Yeah, and I think when you first said Domas and Toronto, I thought the rebounding is going to be solid, but the interior defense, as you mentioned, is going to be questionable. But I mean, this team's ball movement offensively, paired with Domantas Sabonis as both a rebounder and a facilitator, quite frankly, as well. I mean, they're going to be able to score with the best of teams. That much is clear. Maybe your question is because Domantas Sabonis has his own heliocentric thing that kind of comes with him sometimes, that you really like the ball in Brandon Ingram's hands. And you really like what Scotty Barnes has been able to do as a ball handler as well. With what Domas requires and what we've seen playing next to two wings that need the ball in Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, how does that impact those two guys? Now, I think the shot creation from those two guys, there's a significant upside between those guys where DeMar and Zach LaVine are right now. Maybe you could make the argument that they're just tainted by being in Sacramento and they're much
Yeah.
better than they look right now. There's that too. But I'm interested to see how that trio would work given the framework of what we've already seen with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan as far as ball handling wings next to Domas. But I think a lot of the other elements at least make sense. And then again, I think the only team that maybe just has a little bit of a head scratching question is just whether or not you think RJ Barrett is enough if you're Golden State. But I think other than that, like I said, I think Sacramento gets to kind of walk out of this thing feeling good because they got the player they've wanted the whole time. And
Yeah.
they don't even give up the quote unquote best asset in the trade. And then if you're Toronto, I think you feel good. I think Golden State, that's a beauty is in the eye of the beholder situation.
Yeah.
How do you feel about RJ Barrett as an asset, especially knowing that you may only have him for the rest of this season and a playoff run, with the potential to re-sign him, but knowing that, he could potentially walk as an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
That's the bigger question. But everything else I think actually is not that crazy.
It's not crazy. It's not
Yeah.
crazy. It made me think as a Raptor fan because there's been so many where I'm like, no, no, no. And then this
Right.
one I'm like, and then when I look at this one I'm like, huh. The fact that just made me sit there and just think, I'm like, we're already getting somewhere. If I'm just sitting here just like
Right.
pondering it a little
Yeah.
bit, I'm like, okay, at least we can have a starting point here. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And trust me, Jay, I've seen so many bad ones. So it's gonna be interesting to see if the Raptors actually, especially with the report coming out that they want Demontis Sabonis, if they're actually gonna pull through with it.
Yeah.
Jay, the final player we're gonna try and find a home for
Okay.
is one guy that we mentioned in the last episode, I believe, Michael Porter Jr. Having an All-Star level season, but does that matter if he's on the Brooklyn Nets? Probably not. And Jay, compared to the other trades, let's keep this straight and simple. The Pistons take a low-risk, high-reward swing here. Low-risk, high-reward swing for Michael Porter Jr. And all they have to give up is an expiring Tobias Harris, an expiring Jaden Ivey, and this year's first-round pick. No multiple first-round picks, just this year's first-round pick, and let's be honest, it's probably going to be 28 to 30 with the way that they're playing right now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? So the Pistons get Michael Porter Jr. They move off of Tobias Harris's contract, Jaden Ivey, who is not even guaranteed to be on the team next year,
Yeah.
and a 2026 first-round pick, which is not really valuable.
You bring in Jaden Ivey knowing that you're probably going to let Cam Thomas walk.
Yeah. And Jaden Ivey's restricted, so you have full control of his next contract.
And because of his recent injury history, you're probably getting him on a premium.
Yes.
Probably getting him on as team-friendly of a contract.
This is pre-agency. Let's be honest. This is pre-agency.
Definitely.
Of your Brooklyn.
It's very similar to the Jonathan Kuminga thing for the Kings, I think. If you get him this year, it's the point of getting him for a full off season, knowing that you're going to still have him for one more year with obviously the intentions of signing him to an extension. Very similar.
Yeah.
Tobias,
which will become dead money, so which is good. He's making that's gonna be a good expiring contract for the Brooklyn Nets.
So expiring money, you get Jaden Ivey as an upside. They got 1 million point guards though, but I don't think that should mean that you don't trade for a point guard with maybe a little bit of a higher floor, which I think Jaden Ivey right now.
That's the highest floor out of all those guys that they have right now.
Yeah, he may have a higher floor than probably Yegor Demon's probably their best high upside guy. Yeah. And I think Jaden Ivey has a higher floor than that. So good dead money in Tobias. High upside player in Jaden Ivey that can also be a Cam Thomas replacement. And who's the other player we're missing? I know it was one more.
No, it's just a 2026 first round.
It's just a 2026 first round pick. Okay. I think if you're Brooklyn and you're committed to the bit of this whole rebuild thing, I think you gotta maybe lean into it. Because you gotta think about it too. In that you're getting dead money that should fall off, and essentially 2 first round picks based off the name value of Jaden Ivey, right?
Yeah.
And that's about the maximum in which Michael Porter Jr. should be worth.
Yeah.
Right? Michael Porter Jr. is not worth that insane trade package that New York was willing to do for Mikal Bridges. No. That was 4 firsts. Yes, they may be in the same quote-unquote tier, maybe as players, maybe. You can argue about that one, but with them both not being all-stars, high level wings. One does it by being more of a scorer. The other one, Mikal Bridges, is kind of a jack of all trades kind of player, so on and so forth.
Also, availability issues too. Availability issues
from Michael Porter Jr. does make it where you have to at least factor it in as part of his trade value.
But this does remove the idea that they have to trade for Laurie. This removes the possibility of trading for any other star too.
The reason why that might not be as terrible as it sounds is because how likely are those trades to happen? And what I mean by that is, this is not even disrespect to Detroit. I think it's about the teams that are in cahoots here, right? Milwaukee. Unless Giannis goes to the media and says, I want to trade, and then here's the teams I want to go to. Milwaukee has made it clear that they are going to be buyers at the trade deadline because they want to try to make one last-ditch effort to make Giannis Antetokounmpo happy. So if they don't have to trade him, they don't want to trade Giannis.
Yeah.
The Utah Jazz, we talked about this, we jokingly, last podcast episode a couple weeks back, have convinced themselves now that they're going to build around Lauri Markkanen. Remember, we had that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So now that the Utah Jazz are convinced that Lauri Markkanen is the building block piece that we're going to start this whole foundation with, paired with Keontae George and so on and so forth, how likely is Utah to move off of Lauri if it's for that same trade package, right? Because remember, when we had the conversation about Lauri, they were in conversation talking about wanting Asar Thompson, which was like a dead mission.
And multiple firsts.
Exactly.
And multiple firsts.
So if you're Detroit and you know that this trade package may not be equally as valuable in terms of the player you're receiving compared to a Giannis or even Lauri, right? But he's a solid player that provides specifically what you need in some cases.
Yeah,
as a knockdown three-point shooter, somebody else who does provide real slash ability. This year, he's shown some real on-ball scoring chops by getting more of a higher
rebounder
usage.
too.
Good rebounder for his size. Yep, at the 3 spot as well. For this package, compared to what you would be giving up for, yes, better players, but also throwing out these high-level packages for players that might not even really be as available to Detroit. Do you miss out on this swing on a high upside player like Michael Porter Jr., who does fit what you need and does give you real floor spacing and does give you somebody who gives extra small forward depth to a roster that is kind of leaning all their chips in the Asar Thompson thing while they figure out who Ron Holland is as a player? Yeah. I think as a team that also wasn't super confident about giving Jaden Ivey an extension, by the way, they made the same mistake with Jalen Duren, and that boy going to get paid this summer.
Yeah.
Don't y'all worry about that one. But Jaden Ivey, I think they would have had questions about paying him this summer based off the circumstances this season anyway.
Yeah.
I think this is actually probably their best chance to upgrade without doing something drastic. I think this is also something that, okay, go back to big picture, right? Remember we were talking about the whole big picture aspect of Giannis going to the West and the implications of that. Let's talk about Detroit and the bigger implications overall of a trade like this versus a trade like Lauri or Giannis. Sacramento was good for 1 year. They were good for 1 year. And they thought that's who they were. And they were sadly mistaken. And what is the one thing they need now? Because they jumped the gun. Because they didn't continue to lean further into building up their roster. What's the thing they need the most now? Shot creation at the point guard position. Mm-hmm. Something that once they had that guy and they rested on their laurels, the minute it didn't work, everything fell apart. Right? And I bring that back to the Detroit thing of like, in this situation, this will be your second year of being good, which at least shows some level of consistency compared to Sacramento, who swung for the fences way earlier than they should have.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think it's that big of a swing. It's not even that big of a swing.
And that's what I was going to say. I feel like for Detroit, Michael Porter Jr. is recognizing you need to get better, but not jumping out of your body. See, Sacramento didn't even realize they needed to improve, and so they stood pat, and it cost them. But the other side of it is going too all in, thinking you're somebody you're not, and finding out you're not that team, while also now being out all these assets. That reminds me of New Orleans with Anthony Davis, and how they tried to microwave getting that team to be a championship contender much earlier in his tenure, rather than trying to, build a real foundation with, young blue chip prospects, so on and so forth. I think Michael Porter Jr. is this perfect medium between understanding you need to get better on the margins, but not getting better at the expense of going so far in that you forget that you are the Detroit Pistons. And I mean that respectfully. I mean that in the sense of you've only been this good for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And being that level of self-aware, should guide you in this trade market where there are so many flashy names. If you're going to jump out of your body to get somebody, it's got to be worth it. They've got to fit. And quite frankly, it's going to have to show like day one,
Yeah.
year one. Because otherwise, I mean, you can end up like a handful of these other teams who move too quickly or get content. Right?
Yeah.
So I actually like Michael Porter Jr. in this trade. I like the lack of overwhelming assets. I think Brooklyn does get a lot of benefit from this, despite the fact that the package isn't super large. Having another swing in 2026 is a big deal, I think, as well, because this is a relatively deep draft class. Even though the top is the top.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, top is the top, but I do think that having another swing in this draft class is helpful as well. I actually like this one. I think this is maybe not the most you could get for Michael Porter Jr. Maybe not, but I think it's the most realistic that Brooklyn could get a good call for.
Yes, no, 100%. I think that this is like, again, low risk, high reward. If you're the Pistons, you get the player that you know that'll improve your roster immediately without giving up too many assets. And if you're Brooklyn, you get a young player that you can build a basis off of. Probably someone who's a bit more reliable than a Cam Thomas. You get another first round pick. The only counter I would say for Brooklyn is maybe not a 2026 first round pick, because let's be honest, they used all 5 first round picks last year and they don't want to have too many guys on roster. So maybe you would say 2028. Something like
Yeah.
that, so it'll give some time, for those contracts to develop.
Mm.
But besides that, I don't think it's a bad trade at all. I don't think
Yeah,
it's a
I
bad
think
trade.
actually and maybe this is maybe this is keep it simple stupid, right? But I actually think this is like the most like straightforward trade as far as like, you know what? This is good for both teams. That I think out of all of them, it's like I don't feel like I have too many questions for either team in terms of what their benefit is.
Yeah.
Right? For some of the other trades, especially the 3-teamers, and that's kind of how those 3-teamers work,
Yeah.
right? There's always going to be somebody who kind of gets the short end of the stick, but it's just kind of there to make everything work and at least get something, rather than standing pat.
Yeah.
Right? You want to win the press conference, right? We didn't
Yeah.
lose Jonathan Kuminga for nothing, so we got at least a smidget of an upgrade. Or I think RJ Barrett's a little bit better than Jonathan
Yeah.
Kuminga by a good amount, but
Yeah.
to each his own. But you win the press conference by saying, look, Jonathan Kuminga just wasn't working here. We get RJ Barrett, who's a little bit more of a proven commodity. Think he'll be a better fit next to Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. The question is just whether or not we'll bring it back after this summer, right? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But like for the most part, even going back to some of the earlier conversations we were having, right? Like the LaMelo Ball thing, right? I think there's always going to be a little element, especially of those 3-teamers, where you're like, I could see why a team would be a little hesitant. For Brooklyn in this trade, I felt like
You get what you get, and you don't
the
give up.
iron's hot too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't gonna. This Michael Porter Jr. Value wasn't as high as it is right now, and you're getting a nice blue chip prospect and a Jaden Ivey, who you can definitely build a future around, and also you get a pick as well. So pretty straightforward. I think it's not a bad trade. Let us know your thoughts on any of these trades down below. Let us know if you feel like there's other trades that would be possible, any other trades that you want us to talk about going into the future. Obviously, like I mentioned, January 7th is another big date for more players to be able to get traded as well. If you have any other guys that you want us to talk about, potentially looking at different trade packages, let us know. But we talked about Giannis, LaMelo, DeMontis, MPJ. We want to hear your thoughts on each of these trades down below.
Yeah.
Jay, time to move on to the next segment of the show. And again, we're keeping it Christmas themed. We're going to, now you're also going to be putting on a Santa hat for this one because we're both going to be part of this. We're going to try to give one player/team a gift for Christmas, something positive for them. Or we're going to give a team coal for being a team that's, the whole naughty and nice thing sort of thing. And we're going to do that for either one player or for a team for each. We're going to go back and forth and see who we have for that. Jay, I'm going to go over to you. We're going to start positive here.
Okay.
What is one player/team you think you're going to that's on the nice list this year?
Okay, so the team that's on the nice list for me, and I think this is, again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder type thing to me, is I think a team that's not being talked about enough in a positive light has to be the Boston Celtics. The Boston
Like it.
Celtics have made the most out of a situation that many teams would kind of up and fold. Let me give you a great example. The Indiana Pacers are without their best player in Tyrese Halliburton this season. Everybody else on the roster is retained from that championship run, except for, of course, Miles Turner. They are 6-22, and the second worst team in the Eastern Conference this season. The Boston Celtics lost Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, and essentially Jason Tatum for at least a majority of the season. It sounds like there's this possibility he might come back later this year.
Don't do it. JT,
Hey,
don't do it.
I'm just saying. He says he's coming back. Jaylen Brown says he's coming back. Brad Stevens says I'm open to the idea of keeping my ears to the wall in case, he does come back. We might be an active team in the trade market because we might go ahead and make a shot at this thing. The Boston Celtics being 17-11 right now, 7-3 in their last 10 games. Jaylen Brown has been one of the most efficient scorers in the NBA, top 10 in scoring in the NBA as well so far this year. Anthony Simons has not been good, but in his stead, Peyton Pritchard has been great.
Incredible as a starting. He's been great as a starting point guard so far.
Yeah. I think you have to give this Boston Celtics team a lot of respect when a lot of people were saying this team wouldn't even make the playoffs. Now, me and you, we were in a weird spot on that one. I told you I didn't think they were that bad, but I told you I was worried about them. Others, like yourself, were a lot more worried about them and figured they would be a team that might just want to punt the season. And don't even if I'm not mistaken, I think we even had an episode earlier on in the year where we were like, "Ooh, this team's starting out kind of ugly. They can't rebound."
Yeah.
Really, I mean, are we serious with the center position right now? Like, what's going on with that? Neemias Queta, really? All these questions, right?
He's
Anthony
solid,
Simons, do you
yeah.
really think you're going to keep him long term? Like, all these questions, right? And so, and deservable questions as well. Let's not completely shoot ourselves in the foot and use 2020 hindsight as all negative. These are all warranted questions at the start of the season. So I think the mere fact that this team is third in the Eastern Conference right now is a testament to where the Eastern Conference is as a conference. We'll start there. It's tricky, but I would also say that that's a very good spot for them right now, given their circumstance. Like if you could have told Boston Celtics fans coming into the year, no Drew, no Al Horford, no Kristaps Porzingis, JT's not playing until February at the earliest. Where do you think you'll be? Boston Celtics fans would have probably said, I think at best maybe seventh, eighth in the Eastern Conference. We'll be right there. We're not as bad as the Bulls. We're not bad as Brooklyn, right? We're not bad as the Hornets, right? Right? We're probably around like eighth. Yeah, we'll see what Toronto does this year. See if they build off of last season. Miami, they don't know if they want Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could convince yourself that you're at least like in the play-in race, which is where I was at coming into the season. And I think a lot of Boston Celtics fans would have been competent enough to be like, that's fine, given the circumstances. To be third in the Eastern Conference as the Boston Celtics is not only a testament to like what they've been able to do internally from a developmental standpoint, but I also think it's gonna set them up to be very dangerous later on in the year. Because I think if they are a team that, for example, they're rumored to maybe pursue a Vika Zubac with the LA Clippers, I'm interested in that. You get Jason Tatum back. You trade for a Vika Zubac. You go into the postseason. You got Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Jason Tatum. I like what Jordan Walsh has done so far this season, by the way.
There's a lot of these bench players that I've been very impressed with.
You throw a Vika Zubac, who was top 6 in DPOY last year, by the way, into this lineup. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
To be this comfortable going into 2026 and still have the trade capital to maybe improve this team and have the upside of maybe getting your best player back before the playoffs. I like what they've been doing. They deserve a present from me. I'm not gonna lie. They've done a very good job this season.
I was thinking like because I said before like I was gonna be either a player or a team. I was just gonna give it to Jaylen Brown in general. That was like one of the guys I was just doing in general because
That'll be a good one.
I had I had my doubts of Jaylen Brown being the number one option. And I think many people did as well because he's been such a good number two with Jason Tatum. We've seen how he was the year where Jason Tatum was mostly injured, and he struggled as like the number one guy. People talk about the turnovers, the shot creation, and all that. Jaylen Brown has proved that he's like a top 15, top 13, top 12 player in the league so far. His efficiency has been very good. He's still a very good defensive player. Yes, the turnovers are almost 4 a game, but that's what you're gonna have to live with that with someone who's gonna have the ball in their hand most of the time. They still got that 3-point shooting on lockdown as they always do, and you just gotta shout out the Boston Celtics scouting development team for finding a Josh Minot who was rotting away over there in Minnesota, and he's finding a really good role over here in Boston. Jordan Walsh finally, dusting him off and adding him into the rotation. Luka Garza, who was a two-way guy over there in Minnesota, who absolutely killed the Raptors the other day. Hugo Gonzalez, who was a nice first-round pick, late in the first round. He's actually, played 23 games for them and actually feels like he's going to be a rotation piece for the long term. These are a lot of guys that just play. And at this point, and we talked about this in different aspects, one of the most dangerous teams is a team with not a lot of expectations. And this team had literally no expectations coming into this year.
Yeah.
And in a weak Eastern Conference, no expectations, but still having a top 12 player in the league, possibly in Jaylen Brown, having one of the best coaches in the league in Joe Mazzulla, one of the best front offices there in Boston. They were competent enough to make this work, and they're clearly showing that they're able to make it work. So them giving them a present 100%, I like that's definitely a good choice. I was thinking of giving it just to Jaylen Brown, but yeah, the Celtics 100% as a whole deserve it.
Yeah.
Jay, for myself though, this might surprise you because we've been kind of trashing this team all year, but I want to give them a nice little parting gift before the end of the year. Jay, I'm gonna go give this to the Pelicans. I'm gonna give it to the Pelicans, and not because this absolves them from that trade with the Atlanta Hawks. No.
Mm-hmm. They're not that safe.
They're not that safe, but I will give them credit. They got their future.
Yeah.
Derek Queen,
yeah,
and Jeremiah Fears
are those guys. Yeah, they are those guys for sure.
I don't, and people will take this the wrong way, and trust me, I don't mean this with any ill intent. But this is giving me especially with the nice, fast young guard who's able to do well in transition, a center who can create for himself, but also showing that he could be a nice playmaker for others. The next Sabonis Fox sort of combo. I know people don't want to hear that, but Jay, they were very effective for the couple years that they were together.
Mm-hmm.
They were very, very effective. And although people were trashing the trade, and people may still trash the trade, especially because, again, we're not absolving the Pelicans completely. They are one of the worst teams in the NBA. They have 7 wins on the year. But they have a nice future.
Yeah.
Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears are 2 guys that so far early in the season make me feel like the Pelicans are good. Even though this could have been maybe potentially better with a top pick next year, they felt confident in Derek Queen. If they felt so confident in him and they were able to give him the keys like they have been, giving him the keys to the offense, Jeremiah Fears giving him a lot of the point guard starting minutes, and they're performing like this, you can't complain. No room for complaint over here from Pelicans fans, from myself here. I trashed them for making the trade for Derek Queen because I thought that, the defensive issues are still there, but he's such a good low post presence, a setter up for others. And Jeremiah Fears, you can't stay in front of this man, bro. This man is just too quick. This man makes good decisions in transition. Maybe he's improved he's shown to be a better 3-point shooter than even I thought coming into the year at 37%. I think either way, whatever direction they're going, and they still have Trey Murphy, who's been one of their most reliable players this year. Whatever they want to do with the rest of the roster, as long as they have Fears, Queen, and Murphy, in my opinion, they're good. I think they have a nice basis to start off with.
Yeah.
And I think that because of that and the amount of times that we trashed throughout the year, Even though they're still a 7-win team, I'll put them on a nice list. Because
Yeah.
damn, Derek Queen's a damn good player.
Yeah. I like Derek Queen a lot, man.
I like him.
I think the part that hurts, bro, and I think Kenny Beecham, he brought this up on a recent like Kenny for Real video. As a Bulls fan, the 2025 draft is going to be one of the biggest like head shakers that we've had in a minute, right? You think about the Cooper Flag draft, you essentially lose them on a coin toss
Yeah.
to the Dallas Mavericks, right? Essentially. And then this year, here's Derek Queen on the back end of Chicago's in the middle, sandwiched in between the Memphis Grizzlies and the New Orleans Pelicans. Chicago gets Noah Essengay, who can't seem to find any time on the floor.
He was a project coming in, though. I'm not going to jump off. He's still my guy.
Oh,
I'm not jumping off.
I'm not jumping off Noah Essengay. I remember you were speaking very highly of him coming into the draft class. But I was a very, very big Derek Queen guy. I remember we were having the big debate between him and Kamal Maluach for the Chicago Bulls in this draft when we did our mock. But Cedric Coward's also been a beast too this year. And so to see Noah Essengay mismatched in the middle of that, it's just something about that, man. It just don't feel too great. Well, you know that Cedric Coward might be a top 5, top 6 rookie this season. Derek Queen, same thing. And then you just got Noah Essengay that feels like you just pray this is not an extension of the Patrick Williams thing. Again, we knew he was a project coming in, so you give it a little bit more leeway. But you just pray this isn't an extension of the Patrick Williams thing, which is looking way too deep on insight and upside as opposed to the on the court production that just says this guy should be a very good basketball player, right?
Yeah.
Because man, I mean, I don't know what the Bulls could have done any better if Coward and Derek Queen are already off the board. If you look at some of the names that came after, I like Carter Bryant, but very similar to Noah Essengay. Project in development.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Thomas Sorber comes of the year injured for the season. Young Hunson, we knew he was a swing that Portland made that nobody thought was going to happen that early in the first round.
Another project. I mean, we've seen a couple of projects here, like in the middle of this first round. Yeah.
But once you get past Derek Queen, there's a lot of question marks here, right? I think the next maybe interesting guy you could have really, really had the play for was Rasheer Fleming, who I think a lot of people thought was a first round talent at the time. So the Bulls essentially picked between Noah Essengay and Derek Queen and missed. At least for now. Well, at least for now. We'll see how that goes. You know, again, this is from a Bulls fan perspective. You see Cedric Coward, you see Derek Queen, and you ask yourself, like, dang, we missed out on Cedric, but we had no choice. We had no chance.
Yeah.
We had a chance at Derek Queen, and we knew we needed to address the center position with the fact that Nikola Vucevic is either going to walk for nothing this summer. We got to pay him, which is probably the worst case scenario of all of these, despite how much I love what he's been able to do the last 2 seasons offensively. Or you have to end up trading him anyway, so you need the depth somewhere else. We'll see how that whole thing plays out. But as far as New Orleans is considered, Derek Queen will never be able to make up for what he was traded for. It's very similar to like Trae Young will never be able to outrun
Luka
being compared to Luka Doncic, right? But I think that if you had to at least look at what Derek Queen has done in a vacuum, when finally given the opportunity, because let's be honest, one of the things that got Willie Green fired was honestly that he was wasting the one asset that was supposed to make this season worth it, essentially, in Derek Queen. You can at least say, we know Derek Queen is good. Atlanta might get a top 3 pick, depending on how the lottery odds fall. But what if they don't get Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, and Cam Boozer? Could Derek Queen be better than Nate Almond? Maybe. Could he
Yeah.
be better than Jaden Quintonance? Maybe.
Yeah.
Could he be better than some of these other guys that are, at the point guard
Rookie,
position?
yeah. Like,
Yeah, no, Cole P, a handful of other guys that are in that mix for that top 10 spot. Could Derek Queen be better with a year of NBA experience already under his belt, by the way, than those guys?
yeah.
There's a high probability of that.
Yeah.
And so as long as Atlanta doesn't land one of those top 3 picks where then those questions do kind of,
Yeah.
raise a bigger set of issues. If Atlanta's anywhere outside of the top 3, you can make the argument that maybe, even with giving up that pick, that Derek Queen ends up being the better player.
Yeah.
And that's an upside that New Orleans at least can be proud of.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, one of the biggest things with Derek Queen, too, and I know maybe Bulls fans are going to be like, oh, we definitely should have got him. Again, talking about heliocentric centers, and this is why I like comparing him to Bonus. You kind of need the ball in his hands for him to do well, and he's been showing that very well. So maybe we'll see 3-4 years down the line to see if he's able to, transition his games where he's able to like be effective both on ball and off ball as well. That's something but he's a rookie. You can't really just say like, oh, this is him completely. But even though he looks fantastic, but
Right.
there's still a lot of question marks still with Derek Queen. He's still very good, but there's still question marks. But you just got to, at least the Pelicans do what they had, and they had the conviction to get him. And that's what you have to, at least at the very end of the day, you respect it.
Yeah.
You had the conviction that you knew that you wanted Derek Queen, and you got him, and he's actually paying dividends so far. So shout out to them. And Jeremiah Fears was a big home run, too, with a pick. I absolutely love him as well. Can't wait to see him. Could be, I know John Wall just retired a couple years ago. This generation's John Wall, the way that he's looking so far in the kind of trajectory he's at, could be pretty good. Jay, let's end this on a negative note, unfortunately. Which one player / team you're going to give Cole to end this episode?
Man. Picking on the Clippers would be too easy. So I'm going to leave them alone.
I left the Clippers alone, too. No need to kick a team when they're down.
Picking on the Clippers would be too easy because it feels like there's just a million and one things going on wrong with them. The team that stands out to me is the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the reason for this is because, TV, this is a make or break season for them. We knew that coming into the season. We had the conversation about it coming into the season. The biggest conversation around the Cleveland Cavaliers this season was what? If they don't at least make the Eastern Conference Finals, right, this core four cannot maintain. Not with how much they're being paid, not with the inconsistencies in terms of the roster having Darius Garland healthy one day, not healthy the next, Jared Allen in and out of the lineup. Evan Mobley has had his own injury concerns as well throughout the time that these four have been together. Okay, sure. Okay, at one point you guys, the small forward position, questionable. We tried making up for it with Isaac Okoro, Karis LeVert. But you brought in DeAndre Hunter last season. And yeah, he got injured and it derailed things a little bit, but now you have him for a full year. Hasn't looked great. You lose Ty Jerome, who I didn't know was as important as he clearly is, it seems like now, because they can't seem to get backup point guard right outside of the time with Ty Jerome, because Lonzo Ball has been an interesting player for them, but hasn't fit as well as they would have liked for him.
Yes.
Right? Donovan Mitchell has been balling. And he's probably been the one model of consistency, I think, out of everybody. I don't think Evan Mobley has looked nearly like the DPOY candidate he's been in years past, including winning it last season. I think Jared Allen has been very underwhelming both on offense and defense this year. And regardless of what Darius Garland thinks he wants as a number one option talent that with the ball in his hands more often, one way you can get the ball in your hands a little bit more is being on the floor. And so far this season, he has struggled to stay healthy. With all that being said, as a team that was expected to be a top 3 seed in a year where the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers were basically supposed to be the two creams of the crop at the top of the Eastern Conference, here they are at 15 and 14 and 7th, tied with Miami, Atlanta, and only a game and a half ahead of my Chicago Bulls. That's not the conversation I think we were going to be having about the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's a conversation I never thought we would have. at any point during this season about the Cleveland Cavaliers. And somebody's getting traded, TV. I'm not going to be the one to be the bearer of bad news. I'm just going to kind of leave it as ambiguous as humanly possible. But someone's getting moved at this deadline. Because if someone doesn't, it's only going to further reveal the lack of self-awareness this team has. So somebody's getting moved, and the question is simply going to be who. It sounds like reports have said Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley are untouchable. So that means Darius Garland and Jared Allen are up at the plate. One of them is getting moved in February. One of them is getting moved in February. Period, point blank. Question is who, for how much, and does what they get in return help them now, or is it future thought? But this team, from where we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season, again, between regular season expectations, postseason expectations, roster comparison, this team was supposed to be a top 2 team in the Eastern Conference. One of the 2 teams we expect to be at the top 2 is there. That's the New York Knicks at 20-8. The other one will be in the play-in tournament if the season ended tomorrow.
Hey, bro. I was going to give them the Cole, too. I was going to give them the Cole.
See, there you go.
No. We'll keep it simple. I'm going to keep... I might give my Cole just as jokingly at the end there, but I was going to give it to the Cavs, too.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, balling. At times, I just don't trust anyone else with the ball on that team, which is crazy to say when you're hoping to get an emerging Evan Mobley, when you have Darius Garland on that team. I truly just... And you have Lonzo Ball, too. I don't trust anyone else with the ball there besides Donovan Mitchell. He's been amazing. If there's someone I think I'm gonna give extra Cole to, I'm gonna low-key I might give it to Evan Mobley. Just because
it's been bad, TV. It's fair to say. It's okay to say. I know he's the reigning DPOY, but when you don't look like it, you don't look like it. And he has not looked like it this season.
Jay, I hate doing this because I feel like many people have done this over the years. Jay, he's 16-9 in his rookie year, 15-9 in his second year, 18-9 last year when he won Defensive Player of the Year, 19-9. It just feels like Evan Mobley has been great. He definitely deserved DPOY, especially if Wemby wasn't going to be in the conversation. He deserved it last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've seen with Evan Mobley, and I think now in year 4, we can fully say this. We can't see him transition to a full-time 5. He just doesn't have the aggression. He doesn't have the rebounding chops to do so. And yes, he could be a great rim protector. But I feel like he's going to fall more onto the sides of the Jaren Jacksons more than we will see with the Tim Duncans that he was prepared to be compared to. Going to be great. He'll probably be a good 20-10 guy. But his ability to clash on the offensive end, his indecisiveness in terms of wanting to get a bucket, especially inside, he feels like he's afraid of contact at times, is something that you just wanted to see improve throughout his years. And I feel like we've gotten things here and there for Evan Mobley, but at the same time, we're in year 4. He's going to get into his max contract, and he deserves it. But are we going to unlock something else? Because I think it's not an ability thing. It's about unlocking something in his brain where it's okay, are you going to have that dog in you? Are you going to be able to match up with the physicality of the rest of the league? Because big man is having a renaissance, like we've mentioned on many times in the past. And all these guys are willing to talk down on you. They're willing to bang down with you. And yes, you're going to say, oh, Victor Wembanyama is a skinny dude. This guy will bang with anyone down there. He's not afraid to talk his talk. Is Evan Mobley able to get to that level? I thought it was going to be a clear change after this year to move off Jared Allen and move him to the center position. Now I don't feel so confident anymore that I want him at your center position. He can't be your last line of defense. Maybe, I think he's, like I mentioned, more of a Jaren Jackson role, being the roamer type of guy. But unless he, shows, an extra level to him, especially of intensity, I don't think we're going to see that prime Evan Mobley that we're hoping to see, that who some people were already clamoring for him to be a guaranteed Hall of Famer at the end of his career. I just don't see it as much anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. So, I guess, I can give extra Colts to the Cavs. If I want to give, if there's not enough space in that, I'll just give it to Nico Harrison. Why the heck not? But the Cavs, bro. The Cavs have really disappointed me this year. And remember, I was a guy who was fully convinced of him going to the finals this year. I had him in my
Mhm.
finals matchup. And slowly but surely, that trust is just deteriorating time and time again.
I think the biggest thing too, TV, and you kind of touched on it in passing, the slight incremental development slash like flashes, but no real strides forward, put you in the thought process of like, yeah, you have to lower the expectations for Evan Mobley to a certain extent, right? And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting coming off of a DPOY season, but I think the more logical thought process actually is if Evan Mobley did not win Defensive Player of the Year last year, because Victor Wembanyama was fully healthy for the time frame that was necessary in order for him to qualify, which would have likely had him be the winner because he was the front runner practically the entire season
Would have been
up
unanimous.
until that
Would have
point,
been unanimous.
right? If Evan Mobley doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year and get that tag attached to him, right? Because remember, even Anthony Davis has not won a Defensive Player of the Year before, despite how spectacular he's been as a defensive player throughout his time in the NBA. So it is a real separator. Not that Evan Mobley's better than Anthony Davis, I think, in
Yeah.
a grand vacuum. But I do think that when you have certain conversations, accolades do tend to separate guys. I think in a sense that Defensive Player of the Year has separated Evan Mobley from a conversation around whether or not he can be a foundational piece. And not to say that the Cleveland Cavaliers are supposed to trade him,
Don't.
but
Yeah.
and I don't believe they should.
Yeah.
But is he as untouchable without that DPOY?
You're right.
He probably is still listed as an untouchable player in the eyes of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and rightfully so. But is it as easy as a conversation as it is with the DPOY next to his name? Reigning DPOY at that. Are you going to really put the reigning Defensive Player of the Year on the trade block? Right? I think that's a harder conversation to have. But if Evan Mobley only incrementally gets better a little bit last season, and they still are very unsuccessful as far as making it through the postseason, and we don't see any real strides from him offensively besides flashes here and there like we saw last year.
Also, the eye test. I don't know about you. When I watch him, it's not like he like really asserts his presence compared to like a lot of like all stars or like secondary options, like compared to like other guys around the league. It's like it's a different feel with him. Like he kind of floats around there, and he does his thing. He does do his thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a different sort of energy with him, man. It's just a different. Like he just doesn't feel like he like asserts himself as much. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's one of those things where you just have to ask yourself. I think that the Cavs had so many questions coming into the year, but all questions about stuff that we thought we were going to have to worry about in April and May. And they're rearing their ugly heads a lot earlier than a lot of people expected. And I think that goes to ask or begs the question, how much longer can they keep playing this game before something has to change?
100%, man. We were both on the same page with the Cole. I mean, like, is it too easy to give it to the Pelicans? I mean, I gave them freaking flowers today, but is it easy to give it to the Kings? Yes. Is it easy to give it to the Clippers? Yes. But this Cavs team has had so much expectations going into this year, and everything just started kind of like crumbling apart. Where people thought would be like, oh, we're going to see this in the playoffs. It's happening in Game 30. We're basically at Game 30, and we're seeing this happening with the Cavs, which is very, very surprising. It's still an 82-game season. They still got 50 games to figure this out, but it's not looking good. It's definitely
Yeah.
not looking good. I'll just say if there's like no space in the Cavs stocking, I'll just give it to Nico Harrison. I know you're unemployed and maybe you don't want to get kicked when you're down, but at the end of the day, you still traded away with Doncic, so you still get Cole this season. Let us know down below what you guys think. Who gets the give? Who gets the Cole? Naughty and nice list, all that good stuff. Let us know your thoughts down below. Jay, it's been a fantastic episode today. Thank you guys for watching. What do you have to tell these beautiful people before we sign out?
Yeah, man. First off, TV, welcome back, man. I'm feeling so good being back on the podcast, bro. It felt very natural.
Yeah.
Felt very like, riding a bike, man. Just like
Yeah.
getting back on, just, going back right to how things were before we left, man. And it felt really good. Obviously we got one more episode before the new year. Very prepared to experiment with some different kinds of content in 2026, be on the lookout for that, especially on the short form side. I want to say is going to be where things are going to get really interesting as far as us trying to provide a lot more content, be a lot more consistent, provide a lot more insight that sometimes the podcast, we try our best to be super in depth. We try our best to have these really, in depth and strong conversations. And I think we really enjoy them, right? But sometimes catching, in the moment news and reacting to these trades, like as we see them on a spot track and on Reddit and some of these other articles, right? I think those are going to be really good opportunities to kind of just continue to see, how the flow of this season kind of builds itself and it's going to show in our content. And I'm just really kind of excited for 2026. Again, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I'm very excited for what 2026 has as far as the Hit Your Free Throws podcast. And like I said, I feel like this was a very good way to come back was, A, the NBA trade market is hot as fish grease right now. But
Yeah.
B, I also think that, these big picture questions about roster construction, team fit, player fit, cap construction. These are the type of things that I feel like certain podcasts are not, a lot of podcasts, a lot of TV are not having these in-depth conversations around just outlandish trade packages. They just throw the trade graphic up on the screen and share the thoughts. And I think we take it a little bit deeper than that. I hope you guys feel the same way. And we're going to kind of continue to kind of build off that philosophy, honestly. And I'm
100%.
second.
Super excited for the end of this year, obviously, and then going into next year for the podcast. Took a little bit of a break. Again, feeling her back, real life kicks our ass sometimes too, behind the camera. So it happens sometimes, but we're back, getting ready for NBA Christmas, which is awesome. And again, something to be thankful for this holiday season. Being here just to be able to talk basketball with one of my guys over here and Jay. We're ready to do this for all of next year as well, and we're hopefully and continue to build this platform, and we're hopefully you guys can continue to join along on the ride. But yeah, it's been an awesome episode today. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check out Hit Your Free Throws podcast everywhere you go. All our links will be found in the description down below. Jay and I will be back next week for the final episode before the new year. Maybe some sort of countdown for 2025 or something like that. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. This is TV. This is Jay. We're signing out. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Peace.